Michael, and I've been a teacher for 14 years. I have a master's in psychological well-being, and I'm also a mother to 2 young children who are now 7 and 10. And I've been asked today to talk to you about, share some ideas on how to get the day off to a good start, and particularly to look through some science behind the main strategies and to look at the psychology of what we can do to help our children get off to a good start and to help ourselves as a family get off to a good start each day. So I want to talk to you about 3 key steps to ace the mornings. And A is for minimizing anxiety, C is for communication and consistency, and the E is for enabling and empowering our children to achieve. So that's the ACE of acing our mornings each day. To start with A, anxiety is contagious, and it's quite a recent discovery really. In 1996 there was a team of Italian researchers who discovered something called the mirror neuron, and it spread throughout the brain, and the mirror neurons help us to empathize with others and to interpret body language and expressions. And it's the mirror neurons that explain why we feel the need to yawn when someone else yawns, why we flinch when someone gets a paper cut, and also when babies copy the facial expressions of their caregivers, it's because their mirror neurons are firing. And what this means for us and why it's important in our morning routine is because if you're stressed, your children will be stressed too. And you may think you're speaking calmly and hiding your emotions, but actually we're physiologically hardwired to pick up on other people's emotions. And so it's very important that we're mindful of the fact that if we can look after ourselves as parents, then everything else will flow from that. And whether it's a short breathing exercise, whether it's taking a shower before you head down for breakfast, it's finding what works for you to stay balanced and to recognize that being self-aware is not being selfish. So on this, Dr. Siegel suggests that we all have what's known as a stress window of tolerance. And it's really important that we try and stay within this window. And within the window of tolerance, we are at our best. We're reasonable, calm, rational parents. If we're stressed, we tend to go either towards hyper-arousal or hypo-arousal. And when we have hyper-arousal, we start to get more angry, we shout, we're more aroused. Otherwise, you might shut down, you start to feel numb. And what we need to do is self-regulate ourselves and stay within that window. And we've all experienced that moment where you feel like you're on the edge and you feel like you're about to snap. And you might say to a partner, listen, you take over for a moment. I need to just take a short time to step outside and breathe, or maybe just hand over. If you're a single parent, then literally it could just be walking outside the room and taking 3 deep breaths. But it's recognizing when we are on the edge and bringing ourselves back into that window where we're able to deal with things more calmly. Because if we're okay, then our children will be okay too. Which brings us to communication and consistency. So I think the way we communicate is really important, and our aim is to minimize stress for everyone by creating a calm atmosphere, by creating a routine. And the last year, the pandemic has been hugely stressful for everyone because it's created uncertainty. And psychologists know that uncertainty is one of the most stressful things that we can experience. So there's a life inventory scale. It's called the Holmes-Ray Life Inventory Stress Scale. And you can look at this up on Google. And there's a youth one too, and it has things like, it ranks life events in order of how stressful they are for us. And it includes things that on the face of it seem happy and positive, like pregnancy, holidays, starting school. And I think the important factor that most of them have is that they involve some kind of change. And change is inherently stressful. So as a parent, what this means is that we need to create simple routines that children can latch onto and can expect, and they know how their morning is going to go, and that's really important for us. So whatever the routine is that works for you, it doesn't have to be that the whole family's sitting down for breakfast together if you can't do that, but there is a sort of a form of routine that children can latch onto. And in terms of the way we communicate that, we know that children often act up to get our attention. We know that sometimes in a child's mind, even being told off is a form of attention, so they don't mind acting out. But often it's taking simple steps like putting down our phone. And my own children have said to me, "Mommy, please put down your phone and listen to me." And so I think it's about being consistent, listening, taking time to actually be present in the mornings, as well as being balanced is really, really important. We know as psychologists that touch is important, and when an infant is breastfed, the mother and the infant both have a release of the hormone oxytocin, and it's the same when you cuddle someone that you love. It's called the love hormone or the cuddle hormone quite often. And so even taking times within your morning to cuddle your children is a hugely important thing, because it releases this hormone and it makes your child feel safe, and it also makes you feel happy. So allowing time within the routine for things like that are important. Finally, on communication, I would say don't forget respect. We often talk about how we should treat others as we would wish to be treated, but then when it comes to children, we don't do that, because we tend to be much more dictatorial and say, right, we're leaving the house now, because we're in a rush ourselves, we have to get to work. And it's just simple things like giving a deadline instead and saying, okay, by the end of this song, I need you to have your shoes on and your jacket on, and being a little bit more respectful, because as soon as we try to demand something immediately, just as with adults, the response is often that they will back up against it and not wish to conform. And actually the goal of putting on a jacket or putting on your shoes brings me to the final E of ACE, acing your mornings, and that's enabling achievement. It's really important that we allow our children to take responsibility and to achieve things, and it doesn't have to be huge, but just small achievable tasks in the morning. The psychology of this comes from a really well-respected psychologist in positive psychology called Martin Seligman, and you might have heard of him. He wrote a super book called Flourish, and he has a model called the PERMA-V model, and it's about the idea that you can be happy in life, but it's not the same as flourishing and thriving. And if we want our children to really flourish and thrive, then we need to allow them opportunities to achieve as well, and to be proud of what they've done. And so I tried once I thought I'll allow my children to achieve, and I'll give them a challenge, and I'm going to get them to make their packed lunches each day when they were 6 and 8. And actually it was a disaster, because they were delighted, they were thrilled with themselves, but for me, the stress of how long it took them definitely took me out of my window of tolerance, and definitely led to a breakdown in communication, and so it wasn't worth it. So we rethought that, and now they have different roles like setting up the table or taking the cereal out of the cupboard. But even those things they're happy to do, and it gives them a sense of achievement, and it leads to an upward spiral and a positive emotion. And it also helps to build what psychologists call an internal locus of control, which is linked closely to self-efficacy and self-esteem. And it's the idea that as individuals, we control the consequences of our behavior. Now, if we can help our children to develop this, it's linked closely to happiness, it's linked closely to success actually in life. It's the child that later on in life, in secondary school, will say, yes, I'm sorry I didn't do my homework because of this reason, rather than making excuses all the time. And if you can instill in that and help your child to build this understanding that they have responsibility for their lives, then they will be successful and happy. So within a very small, whether it's tying up shoelaces or choosing between 2 choices of clothes to wear that day, there's little things we can do to support our children and create this real sense of achievement. So there's the ACE of acing your mornings, getting the day off to a good start, and it is recognizing anxiety and stress. It's communicating and ensuring consistency, and it's the E of enabling small little moments of achievement within your morning and working those in to help your child be proud. And I hope it helps to get the days off to a good start for you all, and good luck.